if you know that hey, there's stuff out here we don't know yet, so we're not gonna communicate it until we know everything. That just creates a division between you and the rest of your team like none other. So I would just highly encourage you to think about how can I communicate where we're at without oversharing, but also with some vulnerability and saying like, look, guys, we're still figuring this thing out. Nothing will enhance your culture more than some honesty, some transparency, and a little touch of vulnerability goes a long way. Welcome back to the Culture Based Podcast. I'm Dustin. He's Blake. Episode 72, January 15th. We're already halfway through the first month of the year. Don't let it get away from you. Easy 2025. Easy boy.
Whoa.
Easy boy. All right. So today we're going to do part 2 of our AI discussion with team culture. And specifically today, we're going to talk about how to foster collaboration between humans and AI. It's a whole new team dynamic that we're faced with. It's the elephant in the room. And we talked on our last episode about kind of just defining what that whole relationship looks like. And we gave our extensive views on AI. So if you're like, I don't even know where these quacks are coming from on AI, you can go back an episode 71, and listen to the first 15 minutes or so of that episode, and we'll kind of give you our views on it. So we're going to jump right in here in just a second. But before we do, I want to remind you that you can find us on the socials. It's been a minute since I've said that.
You have.
I got to bring it back. I'm sorry. You can find us on the socials at The Culture Base. If you don't know what the socials are, it's my way of saying social media. It's like Facebook, Instagram, that kind of stuff. You can find us at The Culture Base, BASE. You can also find us online at theculturebase.com. While you're there, click on the Let's Talk or whatever it says button, and you get yourself a free consultation with us and how we can help you do the things that you need to do. You know what I didn't do in the last episode, Blake? I didn't remind our listeners that we're here to help leaders know what they're about, show where they're going, and develop a scalable team to get them there. And that's what you can do when you go to theculturebase.com and you click on that free sesh with us. We'd love to talk to you about it. What do you got there?
You know why I let you get away with the socials this time?
Why?
Because as of this recording, yesterday was your birthday. You can get away with anything.
Man, 30 never felt so good.
30, flirty, thriving. Let's go.
If you're only listening to this and you can't see the gray in my beard, I am not 30. I'm 30 plus 11 now. God help us all. 2025 just came in and said, here we boom. It was over faster than a Mike Tyson fight. Am I right? Okay. Which could go either way, really.
It really could.
Yeah, culturebase.com. You can go there and click on that, and we'd love to get on the calendar with you and talk to you about how we can help you know what you're about, show where you're going, and develop a scalable team to get you where you're going. Lastly, while you're on our website, go ahead and check out our ebook, The Scalability Playbook. This is proven methods for building high-performance teams that we put together just for you. Thanks for just coughing right over my ad read, Blake. Just go ahead and whenever you got to let one rip, just let her rip. You know what I mean? You got an urge, you got a hankering. Just do it, bro. That's what I say. Let's Nike this. Let's Nike this podcast. No, we're keeping this in.
I know we are. I usually mute. And
I was used to seeing you mute.
Thing went up. I just didn't mute.
He goes, they can't see me or hear me. So he just goes, sorry, listener.
Probably scared the crap out of someone.
Somebody had our podcast turned up louder than it should be, and now they've learned their lesson. Anyway, let me just go back to it one more time and just say you can download our free ebook, The Scalability Playbook, Proven Methods for Building High-Performance Teams at theculturebase.com/resources. As you can see on the screen, if you're watching on YouTube, which if you are, hello there, we're glad you're here. It's already got 5-star reviews coming in from our friend Omer. We love Omer. Anyway, let's get into today's podcast. We're talking today, Blake, about this collaboration between humans and AI. It's a whole new team dynamic. So let's get into the problem that we're trying to solve today.
I think I just did it again, just coughing. I'm just like, ugh. Every time something pops
up. But that one, when we do the little theme music, it does mute your mic for you.
Oh, well, that's good.
But when we put ads up like this, they can still hear us.
They can still hear. So okay. Sorry, everyone. I'll do better. I'll learn. So anyway, the problem we're talking about today, as you know, the topic of fostering collaboration between humans and AI. So before we even get into that, it's hard enough trying to foster collaboration between humans and humans. That's true, right? And now we're bringing in a whole nother element. So if you're like, oh, this should be good because everything's easy, false. Okay. Dwight Schrute, false hardcore here. You are going to be dealing with people, like people and AI. AI is not going to help your business without the people aspect. So when we get into this, you are going to have resistance. I promise. And a lot of times, business leaders, managers, leaders just in different teams and groups, you want everyone's buy-in. You want it quick, and you want it like overwhelmingly, as if you just had the greatest idea ever. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And one of the best things for you is resistance. One of the best things for a visionary type leader or someone who's trying to run without bringing everyone along is resistance. Resistance is a moment to teach. You're going to have resistance to AI. And in the solution, we'll talk about things to help with that. But that's going to be one of the problems we deal with. We're going to have the problem of what is the clarity of how AI is going to be in our organization. The idea that we need to come up with SOPs and standards for how we use AI is better than just being like, well, let's just not have an opinion on it. And then freaking out when something happens and you're like, why did you do this with AI? I never said you could use AI. Yeah, but you never said you couldn't. And you never said at what level. And you never said, here are my expectations. Okay. Again, with a lot of this lack of clarity, you get the opportunity for your organization, for the world. Gosh, this is like, AI is not new, but its integration is happening at a new level. And you get the opportunity to set what the standard is for your team. And clarity is kind, right? Like we say that all the time. Clarity is kind. So offer clarity on what the role of AI should be. We talked in the last episode about the skill gaps in people's development, but there are skill gaps in everyone's development with AI. And so what's kind of cool here is everyone's kind of on the same level, same playing floor here when it comes to AI. And I'm not trying to be the old boomer who's shaking a cane at somebody. Like, this is where everyone, even the boomers, like, you know what? I just got into this AI thing, and the millennial and Gen Z saying me too. Okay. Like, so this is a moment to actually get everyone on the same page to say, hey, this is fresh for most people. So let's all learn this together. Let's ask the right questions. And we're actually going to get a better product when you've got boomers, Gen Xers, millennials, Gen Zs, the alphas come in and ask the question from their perspective, because we're all going to build an understanding there. So super neat. The next one's just culturally. What are the cultural disconnects that could happen because of this? What are the expectations of like how we're implementing this and what our outcomes are, how it affects us in our relationships? Are we going to disconnect from people altogether? Are we going to connect to people a lot better? I would say there's a comment, and this is a generalization, but there is still a lack of trust with AI, and there is still an ability to know when someone's using AI. Okay. So there are times that I'll see someone like who their emails are usually like, did you get said thing? Okay. That's their normal email. And then it's like, dear receiver of email, how have things been in thou neck of the woods? And you're like, what the hell is happening? That is not so and so.
No, you're like false.
False. Not a real person. Yeah.
If you're watching on YouTube, we're having a lot of fun over here.
Yeah, exactly. So these are things that you want to make sure if you're using it, fit the culture of your team. Do not change who you are because AI is helping you along the way. There are even things you can do in AI, and we could talk about this more in the solution, but just as a blip, tell it what tone you want to write in. Tell it the type of thing you want it to say and in what way. So don't be afraid of that kind of stuff. And then just the last part, one of the bigger problems is just going to be an over-reliance on AI. We gotta be careful that we are trusting the full outcome to it. Okay. Right. We gotta have that human aspect, which we'll talk about later. So anyway, anything more to the problem, Dustin?
No, I think we've defined it pretty clear. Let's get into the solution. Now, every time we play one of those, I see Blake just go. He's like, now's my time. I got 5 seconds to just hack it out. All right, let's get into the solution of collaboration, how we can actually collaborate between humans and AI. And I think there's, like anything else new, right? It starts with education and empowering. And I love what you said, Blake, about, hey, we're all in this equal playing field. We're all on the starting point. So let's go on the journey together. Everyone knows now just about the same amount of information about AI. So let's just grow in it together and create some unity where there might have been some disunity before. And we just saw, I'm gonna date the recording of this podcast, but we just saw the new Wicked movie recently, and I love what the wizard says is that, everyone, in order to bring people together, we need a common enemy. And so even if you're looking at AI and you're going, this is a common enemy, which it's not, but if you are looking at it that way, use it to unify people, right? Empower each other in that. But let's just learn about it together. Let's educate and empower our employees together. We can provide comprehensive training, right? So it's out there, and you're just like, I hope we don't mess this up. Well, why not sit in the driver's seat, Blake, and own the solution a little bit and say, why don't we just bring in some experts, some comprehensive training here to help our employees understand how AI work, what its capabilities are, what its limitations are, and how to view it as a tool that complements their skills rather than replacement. That's going to be a theme throughout this entire 3-week series of AI that we're doing. We talked about it a lot last week. It is an enhancement, not a replacement. It's a tool to be used. Second thing you can do, and I want to say this is something that you can do. This is something that you must do. Blake talked about it a little bit here in the problem portion, but you have to define the clear roles for AI and humans in your company. Where do things end and where do things begin? You have to be able to clearly define that in your guidelines. If you're not thinking about how to put this into your employee handbook, then you need to be thinking about it right now. Think about how to put this in place. Where do you stand on it? There's no right or wrong answer on this, but you have to get clear about it. You have to have clear guidelines on what tasks, number one, are you going to use it? And if so, in what capacity are you going to use it? Make those guidelines extremely clear. Make sure everyone knows. So if you are going to use it, these are the types of tasks that are best suited for AI versus human input. For example, AI can handle repetitive or data intensive tasks, which is great because then it frees you and your team up for the creative, which we're going to talk about next week, strategic, and the interpersonal work that you actually need to be doing and spending more time on, instead of just like, I got to file all these reports. I got to input all this data entry. I don't have time for our one-on-one today. What kind of culture is that? Yeah. Where you're saying, I don't have time for our one-on-one. I don't have time for you, human, because I have to go punch numbers into this thing because these reports are due. Lame. That's not a good culture at all. Second thing, you can promote a culture of experimentation, helping employees feel involved in the AI integration. Don't be so stuffy on it that you have all the answers and you're not open to how they might be using it as well. Every time I get on a call with a client, I learn something new. in general. I just learned something new, and you should too. And every time you talk to someone on your team, you should learn something new, whether it's something about them, or in this case, it may be a way that they're using AI that you haven't thought about yet. So tap into that. You can blend AI into team workflows gradually. Bring it in gradually, right? Make it a slow. This is not an overnight, like, hey, we have a new software that we want to unroll every 6 months. Don't do that. Just soft play this thing, test it out. We talked about that a little bit last week. And then lastly, emphasize the human element in decision making. This is still something that Blake and I are kind of firm stance on when it comes to AI. You need to reinforce the value of human judgment, human creativity, which we're going to talk about next week, and ethics, an area where AI support. It supports, but it doesn't replace some critical decisions, right? We talked a little bit about that last week. Blake shared the story about how lawyers are being disbarred because they're getting this false information. They're bringing it before a real judge, and they're like, that's not real. So you need to just kind of emphasize the human element in the decision making. Let it be a research tool for you, but not the end all be all. Anything that you would add to the solutions, Blake? Perfect. Let's get some action up in here. So, Blake, what action steps do leaders need to take when it comes to this collaboration idea between humans and AI?
Yeah, as we talked about with clarity, I think we've got to create the clear AI strategy. Hey, everyone. First off, our strategy, and this is going to give you the most opportunity to not get put in a box or to put your team in a box. And that's to say, our strategy for this is ever growing. It's ever changing. What we say today is probably not what we're going to say here in the next quarter, 2 quarters. We're probably going to adjust. But right now, here's the strategy. Let's get in. Let's play with this. Let's understand it for email. Now, in the next quarter, maybe we try out something else with the data analytics and making sure things give us good feedback. Maybe we go into development programs. You need to be the one to set that, which is really another one is setting examples early. As early adopters, you need to set the examples. And so if you've got that culture that's willing to dive into this and create collaboratively, then you're going to be able to jump in more to hit these things. Yeah.
I want to say too, you said something interesting there about like, even if you don't have it all figured out yet and it's going to change tomorrow, the integration strategy or how you use it is going to change tomorrow because it's kind of a work in progress, right? Mm-hmm. Let me just say, I feel like this is not AI. This is just a little side rant. I feel like a lot of leaders hesitate on communicating because the answer is not 100% clear yet. Mm. That is the worst thing you can do.
So good.
If you know that hey, there's stuff out here we don't know yet, so we're not gonna communicate it until we know everything. That just creates a division between you and the rest of your team like none other. Yeah. So I would just highly encourage you to think about how can I communicate where we're at without oversharing, but also with some vulnerability and saying like, look, guys, we're still figuring this thing out. Nothing will enhance your culture more than some honesty, some transparency, and a little touch of vulnerability goes a long way. Anyway, that's all I have for that.
Good word. I think the last thing for leadership to create this collaborative environment between humans and AI is really, and this was our whole last episode, invest in the AI training programs. Yeah. Invest into things that are going to help your team get comfortable just by proximity. Okay. So like helping create training programs, but also ones specifically geared at AI. And when I say training program, everyone just got terrified. So take a breath. A video going on to GPT and just being like, hey guys, here's how I can write an email. I throw these things in. Love to know your thoughts on it. And you send that out. Welcome to a training program. Welcome to the video you already have. And you can drop that video in something like Riverside or something else like that. And it's going to produce a transcript. And you can take that transcript, drop it into GPT or Claude and say, give me a bulleted outline of everything we talked about. That's real quick steps for how to do this. Okay, you did that all in probably 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's using AI to help people learn about AI and showing them the process. Like don't overcomplicate this. Okay. This is the beauty of a constant adaptive training program. Is perfection is going to be the enemy of good success. I promise.
Any advancement. Right? Yeah.
What's that?
Any kind of advancement at all.
It is. Perfection is going to slow you down. Don't be perfect. Be consistent. Okay. That's all we need to do is keep bringing things out and simplifying it for your team.
I love it. So for team members like Blake just shared that perfect example of a success story, share those success stories, share those best practices. When you find a way of like, hey, this really worked for me, share it. That enhances and promotes this collaboration. Nothing promotes even if you're talking about human to human. Nothing promotes that collaboration more than sharing the success stories, right? The only reason that you buy an iPhone is because either a commercial or someone else told you a success story about why having an iPhone works. It's no different than anything else in life. Success stories are what promotes. We always talk about celebrate what you want repeated. So let's celebrate this type of stuff and understand that, hey, there's a good way to use it. I'm going to try that as well in my stuff. And then lastly, encourage feedback. We always say this, you got to have feedback loops, but encourage feedback on the AI tools, not just within your company and the other humans in your company, but also with AI itself. AI gives you a bad response. Tell it, hey, look, that response was terrible and not at all what I was looking for. I was looking for something a little bit more like this. Great. It'll use it. It'll learn from it. And you can move on and have better collaboration in the future. Any final thoughts about collaboration, human, AI? Shaking his head, no. Perfect. Next week, we're going to finish up our series on this whole AI conversation, talking about how to create an innovation culture, how AI can inspire creativity. That'll be episode 73. We'll talk to you next time on that topic, the Culture Based Podcast. See you then.